you're all very welcome to this practice support information session, and I'm joined today by Nicola Kelly and Simon Treanor from the Practice Regulation Department, who are going to talk us through applying for your renewal of practice certificate in 2023, and wishing you all a very happy new year. So you're very welcome, and over to you, Nicola and Simon.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate that. If you don't mind, I'll start by sharing my screen. And just to let you know at the outset that I'm just using this on a test server with a test subject, as is Nicola, but the very same principles will apply when any solicitor is making their login. And from the outset, you need to log into the website using your solicitor number and password. If you have any difficulty with your solicitor number and password, please contact webmaster@lawsociety.ie and they will be able to assist you. So once you have logged into the website, the place to go is For Solicitors and Business and Career Resources. And halfway down the page there, the very first thing you will come across is Practicing Certificate. And you will see the first thing here is Application Forms and Guidance. So access the PC application forms and guidance. As I say, this is a test service, so it says 2022, but when you log in, it will say 2023. And that is your beginning page. And I would advise you to read the information provided on the Before You Begin page. Each applicant for a practicing certificate confirms at the end of their application that they've read and understood both the application and the guidance notes. The guidance notes are here, and this is the full guidance notes for 2023, and I would advise you to read and understand them. Those guidance notes will answer a lot of queries that you may have from the outset. And as we move our way through the application form, you'll see the guidance notes are broken up as well into each section. So at the beginning, we go to begin your application. And the first page will have all your details set out for you. In the event that you need to edit any of those details, you can edit the personal details, you can edit your email address, jurisdictions that you've been admitted in, and any firms that you're connected to. In this case, we'll just go to continue. And there are, on the next page, I'll just show you here, the professional status. So the guidance notes relating to professional status can be opened here. There are 21 questions that a solicitor must answer in relation to the application form in order to continue. Each of those questions, there's a guidance note there detailing how those questions should be answered if you have any queries. If you answer yes to any of the questions, there is a box here to provide details with, and there's also an area where you can choose files to upload in relation to the answer, the yes answer that you've provided. For the majority of solicitors, and for this example, we'll be providing the answer no to all of the questions, but each of the boxes you can provide details if you have to answer yes. So for the purposes of the demonstration, I'm going to answer no to all of the questions here. Which is the exciting part of our journey, I'm sure.
But presumably you need to really read each of these individually. And
you need to read and understand that each of those questions, Justin, that's correct,
has significant meaning if you say no.
It does.
And if you say yes, yes.
That's correct. So the 21 questions will lead you on to the next section, which is compliance. Again, there is a guidance note in relation to compliance, and I would advise anyone making the application would read through the guidance note. The first being whether they're an investment business and investor compensation. And the majority of solicitors will detail that they aren't, but if you are, you must attach any relevant documentation to that and upload it. For the purposes of our example, we're going to say no, they're not a solicitor who's an investment business firm. There is the next question is for solicitors who were either a sole practitioner, a compliance or anti-money laundering compliance partner. If the solicitor was, they should tick this box. For the purposes of this example, we will leave that blank. The next part is in relation to CPDs and whether the solicitor has completed CPDs for the year 2022. If you have completed them, you can tick this box. If there's a dispensation application made to the Education Committee, the second one. The third one is where the solicitor has failed to complete the applications. And the fourth one is where a solicitor did not hold a practicing certificate in 2022, or they were admitted to the role of solicitors during that year.
Can I just mention, Simon, at this point that the online system knows by the user login what questions are applicable to the practicing status. So in this example, it's at a solicitor and a law firm, but if it was a solicitor-based in-house, a question would arise in relation to the professional indemnity insurance exemption.
Very good point, actually, Nicola, that's correct. And that question would arise under the compliance section as well. Thank you for mentioning that. The next section is Part 4, the privacy statement summary. The full privacy statement is available to view here, and I would recommend that you read it so that you understand the type of data the Society collects and the legal basis that it collects that data for and its purpose. You must accept the privacy statement in order to continue. The next part here is where you can log in or opt in relation to information provided by the Society, either by email, by post, or by neither. And that's purely optional, up to the solicitor. And the final section before paying of fees, the solicitor declares that they've read and understood the contents of the application and the guidance notes. And to the best of their knowledge, the information provided is true and accurate. You must accept the statutory declaration in order to continue. The commencement date for a vast majority of solicitors who are applying at this time of year will be the 1st of January 2023. And you can continue there on in. And this will bring us to the final section, which is the fees page. The first set of fees here are the mandatory fees required to be paid by the solicitor. The second set here are optional extras, so Law Society membership, free legal advice centres, community law centres, Solicitors Benevolent, and Irish Rule of Law International, if you choose to pay those fees. In this case, we're just going to leave those boxes ticked, so the solicitor is paying full fees. If you're paying by credit card, click that and then hit the pay now. And that will bring us due to a third-party payment processor. So put in your credit card details, be patient. It might take a couple of seconds for the credit card to go through. A lot of solicitors tend to pay by EFT. And for the purposes of this example, because many employers tend to pay for solicitors' practicing certificates as a whole, and it also leads into the second part of our demonstration here, you can click, my employer will make a payment on my behalf. And once you submit that, it will then go forward to the firm admin of your firm, who will deal with the bulk payment for the firm. And that should lead us on to the final page, which tells you that your application has successfully been submitted. It will also give you an application number. You may wish to take a note of that should there be any difficulties arising later on. And from there, I think I'm going to hand over to Nicola, who will show you how the firm admin function works at the other end of this process.
And just to mention that you can track the status of your application in the My Applications tab on your dashboard once you've submitted it.
Yeah. So if you go into My Dashboard, see My Applications, the practicing certificate has been submitted awaiting payment, and that status will change once the payment has actually been submitted. You may reopen your application if if required, but it will warn you that you will have to complete the application again to the end. So in this case, we're not going to reopen it. The application is complete, and I think I will hand over to Nicola on that if you're happy enough.
That's fine. I'm just going to share my screen.
So we're taking questions on the chat if anybody wants to ask a question. So Simon, that piece took all of about 15 minutes, maybe not quite, just fill out if I'm just paying for it at the end. Is that correct?
Yeah, as I say, the one thing I would say is that everyone should read the guidance notes. They are signing a statutory declaration at the end that they have read and understood the guidance notes as well as the application form. And the guidance notes will answer a number of queries that may arise in the course of an application.
If I'm automatically logged in, and the example being used is a principal partner in a law firm. So under their name here in the top right hand corner, once they've logged in, they can get access to the firm administration area. Now, partners, principals of law firms automatically have access to the firm admin area, but if you're not a partner or a principal of a law firm, you can nominate another solicitor in the firm or a non-solicitor to get access to the firm admin area. And to do that, the non-solicitor has to create an account on our website under lawsociety.ie login, and the principal or one of the partners in the firm have to email the society at pc@lawsociety.ie confirming it's in order to assign that individual as firm administrator. So the firm administrator tab is underneath your name, but I'm going to go to the left-hand side here just to show you for the purposes. I'm going to go to your My Dashboard and the firm admin tab. It's here on the left. So the function of the firm admin is to allow the principal or partners of the firm to make changes to their record on the society's records. But the specific area that deals with firm payment for PC is the facility we're going to talk about today. And this is where firms or non-solicitor employers are paying by electronic funds transfer. So it's not relevant to those applicants who are paying by card online. So when a firm admin goes to firm payment for PC, it will default to the principal office. And the firm admin also has access to any branch offices associated with their firm. For any solicitors that are resident in the branch office rather than being resident in the principal office. So if we select the principal office here, once you go into that area, you will see the list of applicants in your firm. There is a button beside each name where you can remind the solicitor to complete their application form. In this instance, all the solicitors have completed their application form. So you can select all the solicitors by ticking this box at the top of the list, and a Generate EFT button will appear. So if you see from the list, all the applicants here are submitted awaiting payment, and the payment column says not paid. So you generate the EFT, and this pop-up appears, and some of the fields on the pop-up allow you to edit the details therein. So the pop-up amount field will automatically default to the total amount payable selected by each solicitor, and the firm paying can edit that amount. So for instance, some firms will pay the mandatory item plus membership and all voluntary contributions. And then other firms may choose to pay the mandatory item plus membership. So you can edit that amount when the decision is made as to what exactly is being paid. You can also edit the field payment pay date. So when you generate the form will default to today's date, but you might have a payment run, for example, on the 25th of January, and you might decide that that's when you're actually going to transfer the fee to the society. Then the contact name will automatically default to the firm administrator, and you have to enter a contact number. And in this instance, I'm just using the society's general number. The contact email will default as the firm administrator's email. And then if you'd like to insert a comment at this point for the EFT payment form. So for example, you may have a solicitor that's currently on holiday leave and you're including their payment, but that particular solicitor has not yet completed your application form. You can type in here, we are including payment for Joe Blogs, who will complete their application on or before 1 Feb. So that's a very useful tool to use to insert a comment about the payment amount or any issue with the practicing certificate applications that you'd like to flag with us. And then the lower part of the pop-up details all the solicitors you've selected to pay and to include in this generated EFT payment form. You click on confirm, and you can download the EFT payment form. And the reason you're downloading the EFT payment form is because this is the document the society requires to match up with your transfer that you're going to send to us. So on the EFT payment form, we detail our bank details to be used. So you would obviously go into your banking online and transfer that amount. And we're asking that you use the reference that is generated by the online system. So in this instance, it's this reference generated. But at the very least, your reference should, if at all possible, be the firm number and including the firm name. This just allows our finance unit to be absolutely sure when they receive the payment that it does relate to your firm. So you can download that EFT payment form, save it to your desktop or wherever is appropriate, and then you can close that form once you've downloaded it. And then you can open your email, arrange the transfer to your banking online, and then we need you to send that downloaded EFT payment form to us by email to pc@lawsociety.ie. Just to show you one other tool in the EFT payment, this firm payment for PC. If a solicitor is on the list that's no longer with the firm, you can click on this button, update listing. It opens up a new email in your Outlook, and you can detail to us that such and such solicitor ceased your firm on a specific date. So thank you for your attention.
That's great. Thanks, Nicola. So there was one query there, Simon. I'm not too sure whether you can deal with that online because it's a particular query, but how best might they find out? I think Nicola made some reference that you can check it on your own system. But
yeah, I think I saw the specific question was when the practicing certificate actually issues.
Yes.
So the solicitor can see from their dashboard whether their application has been approved, and that would mean that their application is in force as of 1st of January, generally speaking, but depending on the date that they're commencing. We're just waiting on a technical issue to actually get the digital certificates issued. I'm hoping by the end of the week. So the digital certificates should be downloadable by solicitors, as I say, hopefully by the end of the week or early next week.
Very good. So there's a question there regards sub-practicing certificates. What is it?
Sub-practicing certificate. I'm not certain what that means. I think I might need more detail than that.
Yeah, possibly, Michelle, you could just clarify what you mean by sub-practicing certificates, and we'll come back to that. So just in summary, the key deadline here, Simon, which I don't think you've made enough of, and the dangers of not reaching it. So
yes,
do you want to just discuss the extreme drop dead date and extreme outcomes if you don't file for your practicing certificate?
So the deadline, Justin, is the 1st of February, and we will take an application is not complete until both an application form and full payment of fees is received by the society. And that's set out in the practicing certificate regulations. But we will take payment up to and including 11:59 on the 1st of February if it's by credit card, for example. But any application received after the 1st of February will be dated the date of receipt of the full application and fees.
Very good. But and obviously we wouldn't be suggesting or encouraging anyone to be filing their practicing certificate payments at such a late stage, because you'd leave yourself no room for error. So what are the consequences of not doing this? Now, please.
A solicitor who has provided legal services at any point during January is required to hold a practicing certificate. It's both criminal offence and professional misconduct to provide legal services as a solicitor without holding a valid practicing certificate. So therefore, if their application is late after the 2nd of February, then they would have to make an application to the High Court in order to have the practicing certificate backdated. And this is not something that the society has any discretion in. It's set out in primary legislation, and it's a costly affair to have to go to the High Court. You have to make an application to the High Court, and you also will be required to pay some of the society's costs as well. So it's costly and time consuming, and not recommended is what I'd say.
Yeah, very good. And Nicola, do you have anything additional to add, or?
Just to mention that in relation to electronic funds transfers, we do recommend that you leave at least 5 days for that transfer to reach the society. So obviously to make a transfer as soon as possible in advance of the 1 February deadline. Yeah.
And I suppose then just, I mean, we're coming up to 21 minutes past. If anyone wants to ask us another question, we'll take it. But just in summary, I suppose for people, well, there's a query coming in on the commencement date section of the application form. Do you recommend we put in the date of payment of the cert in that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so the commencement date is the date you're declaring that you're intending to provide legal services from. So that relevant date is 1 January, not the payment date. The payment date is only relevant to the EFT payment form. So the commencement date in the majority of applicants will be 1 January 2023.
Okay, and I suppose just taking a step back from it, so the PC practicing certificate, it's available to apply for now. The first thing you would need to do is log into your system and log into the Law Society account. And if you have a problem with that, you would contact the webmaster at thelawsociety.ie to get your login details. They're separate to the practicing certificate application. And then you go, where do you go to log in to pay? Is that in the same section?
So you go to business and career to access the practicing certificate application. Then you begin your application. The final part of the application is to select either payment by electronic funds transfer or card payment. Yeah,
and then there's guidance notes also within that application process, which you need to give pretty due consideration to their recommended reading as such. And then the payment mechanism needs to happen well before the 1st of February. Are they all of the things that could possibly go wrong within reason?
One of the common queries is solicitor has submitted the application online and sent the payment, but in some way has reopened the application and not closed it once again. So that's why it's important to check your My Applications tab, just to ensure that the submitted awaiting payment status is appearing rather than an incomplete application.
Okay, and then when I kind of going back to the very first question, when I do make the payment, or if I do that right at that time, do I get a confirmation email back from society saying we've received your money and your application and that's it? Or how would I know that it's been processed?
If you've made a card payment, you get an automatic email from the system following the card payment acknowledging receipt of it. If it's by electronic funds transfer, the society doesn't know you've made that transfer unless you submit a completed EFT payment form, which you can generate for your multiple applicants in the firm, or if you're a sole practitioner, you can still generate it, and you have to email that to pc@lawsociety.ie. It takes some time for our finance unit to identify that payment, match it to the applications, and once our processors have processed that payment, an automatic email will issue from the system to the general email address of the firm or the company. So that's why it's also useful to review your My Applications tab on your dashboard, because once we have processed the payment, the status of that application generally moves to approved, which means everything's okay. Or if we do have a query on your application, the status will be under review queries. But if we have a query, we will be in contact if we need any further information.
Yeah. There's a quick query there about a double processing of a payment, I presume. What's the best route for them to take? Is it to send you an email at pc@lawsociety.ie?
Correct, Justin. Yeah, we can always address if somebody has paid twice for whatever reason. It's usually just accidental.
Yeah,
there's no problem. We can arrange a refund on that.
So I know we're coming up to the end of the session now. So unless anybody else has any other questions, I'll just pop up my screen just to show some of the future sessions that we're running here with regards to information sessions, and then some of the resources. So do have a second now for, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So just the future sessions, we've just had Simon and Nicola today. On the 8th of February, we're having Marketing and Practices Online with Pat Horan, who's an Irish Law Awards winner. And then on the 22nd of February, Business Grants and Supports Overview with Owen Cullen from SEAI, which is this energy support scheme will be discussed, and then the other supports that they have available on offer. And then just for some basic resources, which we'll send out with the recording on Friday, which is regard to where you access this information with regards to practicing certificates. There's a completing your practicing application video, and also this video will be available. If you have a query, please email pc@lawsociety.ie, or you can telephone 672-4800 and ask for the practicing certificate helpline. And then very much in bold red, deadline is the 1st of February 2023, and please don't miss it. So unless anybody else has anything to add, thank you very much. Simon, would you like to offer some last words of wisdom, or Nicola?
No, I just recommend that solicitors get their applications in on time and make sure the payment is in on time. Because if any queries arise in the course of that, we can address those in advance of the deadline.
Okay, very good. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Sorry, I'll just jump back up here one more. On the 8th of February, then we're joined by Pat Horan. So I'd recommend you to come along. If you have any queries around your practice, please email me at j.purcell@lawsociety.ie. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Simon and Nicola, for participating. You've been a good sport. And get your practicing certificates applied for and paid for before the 1st of February would be my advice, and try and avoid the High Court. So, Sloan,
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.